It was late on a Friday night when Sarah decided to take a back road home. The rain poured relentlessly, creating an eerie rhythm against her windshield. She turned on her radio, but static filled the air, a reminder of how alone she was in this desolate part of town. With each mile, the trees closed in, their dark silhouettes resembling twisted figures lurking in the shadows. As her thoughts drifted, she spotted something unusual on the side of the road, a figure standing still, drenched and shivering. Heart racing, she eased over, rolling down her window slightly. "Do you need help?" she called out, the words barely escaping her lips. The figure remained motionless, hidden beneath the hood of a soaked jacket. An unsettling chill crawled down her spine as she strained to see its face, but it remained shrouded in darkness. Just as she was about to drive away, the figure suddenly rushed towards her. Instinctively, she slammed on the gas and sped off, her heart pounding in her chest. "It's just a person," she whispered to herself, trying to rationalize her fear. But doubt crept in when she glimpsed the rearview mirror. The figure was now behind her, sprinting at an unnatural speed, gliding through the rain-soaked street with an eerie grace. Panic took hold. Her hands gripped the steering wheel as she turned down another road, praying to escape. She found herself in a neighborhood that seemed forgotten, houses looming like sentinels in the dark. Each turn felt more wrong than the last. She attempted to call for help, but her phone only echoed her fear as the signal faded in and out. Moments stretched into an eternity when she spotted a house with a flickering light. Desperate, she pulled into the driveway, heart in her throat. Before she could even knock, the front door swung open. An elderly woman, her gray hair wild and eyes wide, beckoned her inside. "Hurry, dear. You shouldn't be out here." With a quick glance behind, she obeyed. As the door slammed shut, she felt a momentary relief. Inside was dimly lit, shadows moving in corners as the woman guided her to a creaking living room filled with oddities. "Stay away from the windows," the woman whispered urgently. "It's not safe." Questions swirled in Sarah's mind. "What's going on? Who was that?" The woman only shook her head, hands trembling as she whispered, "They come when it rains." Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the front of the house, sending a jolt through both women's bodies. The woman hurried to a window, peering through the drawn curtains. "Stay back," she hissed, gripping Sarah's arm. Sarah couldn't take it anymore. "Why are we hiding?" The woman turned, her expression a mix of fear and sorrow. "You don't understand. They want you. They are drawn to fear, and you have it in abundance." A hollow laugh filled the room, sending chills down her spine. Sarah stepped back, confusion flooding her thoughts. "You mean who? What do they want with me?" Before the woman could answer, the door rattled violently, as if something outside sensed her uncertainty. The flickering light above them sputtered and died, plunging the room into darkness. Frantic, Sarah turned to leave, but the old woman's grip tightened. "You can't." In that moment, the door exploded inward. The weight of the night rushed in, and shadows poured into the room like smoke. Sarah could now see glimmers of eyes, eerily reflecting the dying light. The woman's grip slackened as she began to tremble, her face twisting with anguish. "They're here," she muttered. Without thinking, Sarah bolted towards the back of the house. She sprinted through a narrow hallway, her heart racing in her chest. But there was nowhere to go, nothing but walls closing in around her. The sounds of laughter echoed behind her, a cacophony of distorted voices, taunting and playing with her fear. With a final desperate push, she reached a small window at the end of the hallway, trying to squeeze through. But as she looked back, she realized the woman was no longer standing there. She had become one of them. The old woman's features warped into a horrific grin, eyes glistening with dark delight. As Sarah screamed, The laughter intensified, swirling around her like a storm. It was then she understood. The real horror was not the figures outside, but the realization that every fear, every shiver down her spine had drawn them in. And she was not alone. She had become part of the night. Just as she felt the cool air grazing her skin through the window frame, a chilling realization sank into her bones. The shadows weren't merely outside, they had seeped into the very walls of the house. She was cornered, marooned in a place that had become a twisted reflection of her own terror. The voices now coalesced into one guttural chant, weaving through the air and wrapping around her mind. "Join us! Join us! Join us!" They echoed like a sinister lullaby, pulling her back toward the darkness. In a fevered panic, she pushed harder against the frame, her heart drumming against her ribs. Just one more inch. But before she could tumble through, a shadow lunged toward her. It was the old woman, her distorted face now a veneer of cruel delight. The silhouette shifted and danced, revealing strands of black and gray that merged with the dimness. "You think you can escape? You are part of this now. You are what we feed on," she crooned, her voice dripping with malice. "Let me go," Sarah cried, voice shaky as she clawed at the window, desperation fueling her decision. Frantic now, she turned back to the hallway. Perhaps a hidden door she hadn't seen before could provide an escape. Adrenaline surged through her as she turned, racing down the corridor, eyes wide and searching, heart hammering in her chest. "Faster!" the voices shrieked in unison, slithering through the cracks in the walls, filling her ears with dread. She could almost feel their icy fingers brushing against her skin with each footstep, urging her on toward impending doom. She reached a door at the end of the hall, different from the others, heavy and solid. With all her strength, she yanked it open, only to be met by another darkness. An attic, cluttered but untouched by time. The air inside was thick with dust, a lingering smell of decay. A sudden crash echoed behind her. She bolted into the cramped space, slamming the door and plunging into obscurity. Her breath quickened as she pressed her back against the door, the wood vibrating beneath the onslaught of pounding fists and haunting laughter. "You can't hide forever," the old woman called. "We're always near." Huddled in the dim glow of moonlight filtering through a cracked window, Sarah fumbled through forgotten relics, boxes stuffed with memories long past, pictures faded beyond recognition. And then she saw it, a small, tarnished mirror, partly covered by a dust-laden cloth. She lifted it, heart racing again. There, in the glass, she didn't just see her reflection. She saw whispers, glimmers of figures crawling behind her, clawing at the glass. But it wasn't just that. As she gazed deeper, horrified recognition washed over her. Each figure was someone she'd feared, someone she'd lost to the paralyzing grasp of doubt and dread. Faces twisted into grotesque expressions of sorrow and laughter, merging into one truly corrupt visage. Sarah stumbled back, certain now of the trap. It was not only a reflection but an invitation, a doorway to the chasm of her own chilling despair. It wasn't enough to simply escape. They would always pull her back. She was bound in fear and self-doubt, pieces of her soul offered up to the shadows dwelling beyond the mirror. She dropped the reflective surface, horrified as it shattered, the sound mingling with the growing chaos outside as the door began to splinter. Suddenly the roof creaked ominously, a sound she felt deep within her bones. She rushed through the cramped space, searching for a way out. One last plea whispered into the night. "Get away from me. Leave me be." But their laughter returned, echoing within the attic like a monstrous symphony. The figures closed in, the sensation of cold, clammy fingers wrapping around her ankles, pulling her down. As she struggled to stay afloat, they filled her mind with memories consumed by despair, each nightmare erupting like a waking horror. It was then she understood the truth. She was not alone inside her fear, not anymore. With one last scream, as they dragged her under, she sank into shadow, enveloped in the knowledge that she had only become yet another part of the dark, a fleeting echo of herself, destined to whisper through the rain-soaked nights. The house stood silent once more, embraced by the downpour, a fading flicker of light dimming in the gloom. In the stillness, darkness settled in. Unnaturally still, it waited for the next soul to wander through. The laughter faded, swallowed by the sweeping raindrops, and once again, all that could be heard was the rhythmic beating of the storm above, the unending call of fear that lay hidden in the night.